How to master yourself. Nearly everyone believes self-control is a matter of having enough discipline. But modern neuroscience suggests something far more interesting. The people who appear to have the strongest self-control are not necessarily fighting their impulses harder. They have learned how their own minds operate. Mastering yourself is not about controlling every thought, emotion, or desire. It is about understanding the systems inside your brain that create those thoughts, emotions, and desires in the first place. Because before you can control your behavior, you have to understand the machinery producing it. The human brain is not a single decision maker. It is a collection of competing systems shaped by evolution, experience, and environment. One part of your brain is constantly searching for immediate rewards. Another part is trying to predict long-term consequences. The conflict between these systems creates much of what people call a lack of discipline. A person may genuinely want to exercise, save money, study, or improve their health. But another part of the brain is designed to prioritize comfort, safety, and immediate satisfaction. This is not a character flaw. It is biology. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio's research on decision-making showed that emotions are not obstacles to rational thinking. They are deeply connected to how decisions are made. Your brain does not simply calculate facts and choose the logical option. It uses emotions, memories, and predictions to decide what seems valuable. This explains why knowing what you should do is often not enough to make you do it. Knowledge and behavior are controlled by different systems. You can understand that sleep is important and still stay awake scrolling through your phone. You can understand that exercise improves your health and still avoid the gym. The gap between knowledge and action is where self-mastery begins. One of the biggest discoveries in neuroscience is that the brain is constantly changing. This ability is called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity means the brain can reorganize itself based on repeated experiences. Every thought you repeat, every action you practice, and every behavior you reinforce strengthens certain neural pathways. Imagine walking through a field. The first time you create a path, it is difficult to follow. But every time you walk the same route, the path becomes clearer and easier. Your brain works similarly. Repeated behaviors become easier because the brain becomes more efficient at producing them. This is why habits are powerful. They reduce the amount of mental energy required to perform an action. Research by psychologist Wendy Wood has shown that many daily behaviors are driven by habits rather than conscious decisions. A large portion of everyday life happens automatically. Your environment triggers behaviors before you consciously analyze them. The location of your phone, the food placed in front of you, the people around you, the routines you repeat. All of these influence your actions. This leads to one of the most important principles of self-mastery. You cannot completely control your brain by willpower alone. You have to design the conditions that shape your brain. Behavioral scientist B.J. Fogg's research on behavior change suggests that successful habits often come from making desired actions easier and undesired actions harder. Small changes in your environment can create large changes over time. A book placed on your desk becomes easier to read. A phone placed outside your bedroom becomes harder to check. A healthy meal prepared in advance becomes easier to choose. Self-mastery is not about constantly fighting yourself. It is about creating a relationship with your own mind where your environment supports the person you want to become. Another major part of mastering yourself is emotional regulation. Many people believe emotions are commands. They feel anger, and they act angry. They feel anxiety, and they avoid the situation. They feel boredom, and they immediately seek stimulation. But research in psychology and neuroscience shows emotions are experiences that can be observed and interpreted. Psychologist Lisa Feldman Barrett's work on constructed emotion suggests that the brain actively creates emotional experiences by combining physical sensations, past experiences, and predictions about the world. In simple terms, your brain is constantly trying to explain what is happening inside and around you. An increased heart rate could mean excitement, or fear, or physical effort. The interpretation matters. This means emotional mastery does not mean eliminating negative emotions. It means developing the ability to notice emotions without automatically becoming controlled by them. Research by Ethan Cross on self-distancing found that people often regulate difficult emotions better when they mentally step back and observe their experiences instead of becoming completely absorbed by them. There is a difference between saying, "I am a failure," and saying, "I am experiencing the thought that I failed." The first statement becomes an identity. The second becomes information. That small psychological distance creates room for choice. And choice is the foundation of self-mastery. Another important part of understanding yourself is recognizing the role of stress. Chronic stress changes how the brain functions. Robert Sapolsky's research on stress has shown that prolonged activation of the stress response can affect memory, decision-making, and emotional regulation. When the brain senses constant threat, it prioritizes immediate survival over long-term planning. This is why people under extreme stress often struggle with patience, concentration, and impulse control. The brain is not broken. It is responding to the environment it believes it is in. Mastering yourself requires understanding the signals your brain is receiving. Are you constantly overloaded with information? Are you sleeping poorly? Are you surrounded by distractions? Are you creating conditions where your brain is constantly reacting instead of thinking? The modern world has created an unusual problem. Human brains evolved to respond quickly to immediate challenges, but modern environments provide endless stimulation, notifications, endless entertainment, constant comparison, unlimited choices. The challenge today is not simply controlling your actions, it is protecting your attention. Attention is one of the most valuable resources your brain has. Whatever receives your attention receives your mental energy, and whatever receives your mental energy is more likely to shape your identity. This is why mastering yourself begins with awareness. Not judgment, not punishment, awareness. The person who understands their own mind gains an advantage because they stop treating every thought, emotion, and impulse as a command. They begin seeing the hidden processes behind their behavior. The brain creates urges. The brain creates emotions. The brain creates habits. But the brain can also learn. It can adapt. It can change. The deepest lesson from neuroscience is that self-mastery is not about becoming a different person. It is about becoming more aware of the systems already operating inside you. Because the greatest control over your life comes from understanding the one thing you experience every moment of every day: your own mind.